That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him.
Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
There it is, the memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason why this campaign...
What Donald Trump did was use eminent domain to try to take the property of an elderly woman on the Strip in Atlantic City. That is not public purpose. That is downright wrong.
I look at what's going on. I look at all of the polls. I do very, very well against Hillary Clinton. I can tell you I'm the last person that she wants to run against.
We can turn this country around if we get back to the Constitution, and I will always stand with the American people against the bipartisan corruption of Washington.
You have someone who is known as a deceitful individual, an individual who at Benghazi, which I will never let go, quite frankly, because I think of those two men who went up there on the top of that compound with machine guns, firing away, allowing their colleagues to escape.
I've done now over 100 town hall meetings, and I've loved every second of it. It has been the greatest thing in the world. And I want you to know that you've changed me, because I've listened to your stories, and I've had your hugs, and I've seen your tears, and I've seen you walk away and say, I now have hope.
Well, the Republican presidential candidates are making their closing arguments, so to speak, with less than 2 days to go before the New Hampshire primary. I'm Harris Faulkner. It's the bottom of the hour. Let's get to what the news is. And bring in the Fox News political insiders, my happy place. John LeBoutelier, former Republican congressman for New York. Pat Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor. Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and Fox News contributor as well. Yes, he's a friend of the Clintons. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's start with you, John, and how you think things went. Chris Christie said that he felt like that was the changer for the entire race last night.
Well, here's where I think we're at 48 hours before New Hampshire after last night's debate. Since Iowa, I feel that Rubio's been the hot thing coming up until last night. I think this performance last night blunted his momentum. I think other people had a good night last night. I think Christie did well going after him. I think Kasich did well. I wouldn't be surprised if 5 of them end up 20, 19, 18, 17, 16 on Tuesday night. Wouldn't surprise me.
You saw the Monmouth University poll that we had in the very first few minutes of this broadcast, and they are clustered in the middle. I mean, Donald Trump is at 30% in that, and I mean, you can look at a lot of things, but this is just a little taste of that, and they popped it up on the screen. That's helpful, thanks to the team. But this tells you they're clustered in the middle and at the bottom. Pat?
Yeah, I think what's going on there in New Hampshire, and partly there's a whole process here. I think Trump is probably, he has been on his message as much more the last few days, and I think it has helped him because he is the real outsider. I noticed Cruz finally used the word corruption last night, bipartisan. This will become more important. But the governors, they're all running to be the establishment candidate. Rubio, I thought, got hurt. It's not a mortal blow. He will slow his momentum up some there, and he will have a chance to come back. Not another performance like that, though. But I don't know the Christie game. He may have hurt Rubio. I'm not sure he helped himself.
I think tough. I think Donald Trump was the big winner. I agree with Pat. I think that he was calm and measured, and he made his points. He's got a 10-point lead in the Monmouth poll, somewhat bigger in other polls. My sense is if he wins a big victory, he's back as the front runner. You know, one thing that we talked about earlier in the newscast, too, was Jeb Bush. And just really when you look realistically who has the money to hang in there, I mean really hang in there. But he doesn't have the polling at this point. Arguably had a good night last night. What do you think?
I think that it's not going to happen for Jeb, but he's now airing a commercial in South Carolina with his brother, the former president, in it, which would probably mean they are staying in through South Carolina, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. So Jeb's probably not leaving after Tuesday. Kasich has said by 10 o'clock Tuesday night, I will know whether I'm flying to South Carolina or back to Ohio. That's what it means for him and probably for Christie. Well,
and you guys were with me a couple of weeks ago. We had Dr. Ben Carson on. I sat down with him, and he said if I get down into that, low single-digit range, which after Iowa he has been in some polls,
yes.
he's not going to stick around.
Right.
Should he? I mean, how do you kind of handicap where he is right now?
I think we're about to reduce the field some more. And let me say one thing about the debate. I have to say this. I was appalled at the always boosting Clinton network, ABC, keeping Fiorina off the stage so that George Stephanopoulos' narrative of Republicans hate women. And I wish the other candidates had come to her defense. We had two debates because we had too many candidates when Fox started that.
Sure.
We're down to people running out. She would have been the 8th. That's fine. She outpolled Christie and Kasich in Iowa, and she got an equal delegate count, as did Bush.
I was going to say she got a delegate count. Some of them didn't even get that.
That's right. And she was kept out of this, which could only be, as I said, I believe a pejorative move by ABC, which is the most in the tank for Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party network.
Along with that goes this notion that we've heard for years that the Republican Party is anti-minority, anti-women, all this. And how about
this has been a very diverse field. People are asleep if they're not paying attention to that.
In Iowa, 62% of Republican caucus goers voted for a woman or a minority candidate. 62%.
And the same number voted for an outsider.
Yeah.
Think of that. Those are the two factors in the Republican. That's a whole new world for Republicans.
Real quickly before we move on here, Doug, I want to get your take on how it works in New Hampshire. Because as I was telling viewers, and some may already know, that you can wait until primary day if you want to figure out which party you're going to vote for.
Absolutely, and I think people will. Independents can vote in either the Democratic or Republican primary. And both Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side is doing better than Hillary Clinton with independents. So if that race, as it is, slightly tightening up, Bernie will benefit by more independents. Trump is doing better with independents. Kasich is doing better with independents. So that if more independents vote, would tend to help those candidacies. John McCain won New Hampshire in large measure because of independents in 2000. So it's a volatile situation.
Just on the Clintons for a second, the only person that I think I'm right on this, that I know of who has ever gone on to be president and lost both in Iowa and New Hampshire is Bill Clinton.
That's correct.
Is that not correct? But it can happen.
Well, wait a minute. To be honest, Iowa was uncontested in '92 because Tom Harkin was a favorite son. So it wasn't at all the same. So I don't think you can say that.
But statistically, that's what's been reported.
Statistically, that is a fact.
It is a fact.
But it's not over yet. And in other words, even if you, there is some argument to stick around beyond this point.
Over, by the way.
Oh, I know. We will talk about that. I mean, they're recounting the delegates. I mean, they're getting. How can you be more of a tie-tie?
Can we stay with Iowa for 1 second?
Between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
With the Democrats. I think that it'll be interesting to see. We expect that to tighten up somewhat, depending on where the independents decide to go. And I think the press, once again, is crying to be able to bail Hillary out and say, oh, look how well she did if she loses by 8 or 9 or 10 points. In a state she won 8 years ago. Are you kidding? Anyway, I think that, but the dynamic here is this. The outsiders, the outsiders, the outsiders. Bernie Sanders on this stuff on the Wall Street money, and Hillary's answer about who believes that someone gives you $600,000 and doesn't want anything in return.
Come on.
Well, exactly.
Do you think we'll ever see the content of those speeches?
No. We have as much chance as we do of seeing the 30,000 emails that were expunged or per scan.
If Hillary gets within single digits, it is a
in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, it's a huge moral victory for her. Will help her going to South Carolina, and I think make Bernie Sanders' road to the nomination even more problematic.
Well,
well, it's really interesting because if it tightens in Iowa, she may not get credit for that.